What do middle managers who are being laid off actually do? Can a company really run without them? It is around 11:30 at night. An employee at a large tech company opens a company email on his laptop, and a small subject line shakes up years of his job, identity, and routine. The mail says the organization will now become leaner, layers will be reduced, decisions will be faster, and the structure will be made future-ready. It sounds like corporate language, but behind it hides a very human fear. Because the same person who set targets, ran meetings, held teams together, resolved conflicts, saved deadlines, and translated the strategy of those above into the language of those below, today, that very person is being declared redundant first. That is where the question begins. Is the middle manager really an extra layer, or is he the invisible machinery despite without which a company's real voices begin to break apart? In recent times, a new wave of layoffs in the tech and IT sector has revived an old debate across the world. In early 2026, tech layoffs accelerated, and several reports showed that companies are reshaping teams in the name of AI, automation, cost pressure, and faster execution. Citing data from Challenger, Gray and Christmas, Business Insider reported that tech layoffs in the US crossed 52,000 in the first quarter of 2026, and about 25% of the March layoffs were said to be linked to AI. That means the story is no longer just about recession or cost cutting. Now the psychological pressure of AI has also entered it. Now the most interesting part of this story is that the axe is not falling only on the lowest levels. In many places, companies are reducing the middle layer, that is middle management. Recent reporting by India Today also said the effort to make the layer between leadership and execution teams leaner is growing. At the same time, Gartner had said in a 2024 forecast that by 2026, 20% of organizations would try to flatten their structure with the help of AI, and more than half of the existing middle management could disappear. That prediction may not apply to every company, but it clearly shows the direction in which the debate is moving. Here, it is important to pause and understand what middle management actually is. These are the people who stand between top leadership roles like the C-suite VP and director and the execution level teams. Their designations may vary: project manager, delivery manager, team lead, program manager, engineering manager, operations lead, functional head, client delivery lead. But more important than the designation is their work. These are the people who turn strategy created at the top into ground reality below. Someone at the top says, increase customer retention this quarter. The engineer or salesperson below asks, okay, but what exactly do we have to do? The person standing between what has to be done and how it has to be done is the middle manager. In theory, this role looks simple, but in the practical world, it is one of the messiest roles. He has to answer those above, explain things to those below, coordinate with peers, save deadlines, hire people, conduct performance reviews, handle weak performers, retain strong performers, absorb the anger of clients, and when a project gets stuck, the blame often lands on him too. That is why the middle manager is often the shock absorber of the organization. Not letting the pressure from above reach below in its raw form, and taking the frustration from below upward in a language that does not break the system. This is not done through spreadsheets, but through judgment. McKinsey wrote clearly in its research on middle managers that the most pivotal skills for this layer are strategy execution, complex problem solving, effective communication, and coaching direct reports. In other words, a middle manager does not just assign tasks, he turns strategy into reality. And that is exactly why, when a company goes through transformation, merger, restructuring, or crisis, the role of the middle manager becomes even more delicate. Then the question arises, if this role is so important, why is the blow of layoffs falling on it first? The answer is uncomfortable, but direct. Because from the boardroom, the middle layer often looks like a cost center, not a revenue engine. A software engineer looks like someone who directly ships code. A salesperson looks like someone who directly brings in revenue, and a senior executive looks like someone who sets vision. But the middle manager's work is indirect. He orchestrates delivery, prevents delays, reduces rework, manages attrition, reduces meeting chaos, prevents escalation. All of this is necessary, but it does not appear as clearly on a balance sheet as a line item. So when the CFO has to cut costs, the middle manager can become a comparatively easy target. And there is another reason. Salary structure. Middle managers often take up a large part of the salary budget. They are not as cheap as entry-level employees and not as untouchable as CXOs. So in restructuring, they get put into the category of dispensable but expensive. On top of that, if a company feels that software can handle part of the coordination through AI dashboards, workflow tools, and automated reporting with flatter teams, the temptation grows even more. The problem is that software can replace reporting, but replacing sense-making is still very difficult. That is why the phrase management bloat is being heard so much in the tech world today. Block CEO Jack Dorsey recently spoke openly about a flatter organization and said that in the future, companies could replace middle managers with AI for coordination. According to recent reports in Business Insider and Forbes, Block first cut around 4,000 jobs, and then Dorsey spoke of a structure in which hierarchy would be dramatically reduced. This idea sounds powerful in headlines. Fewer layers, less politics, faster decisions. But there is a difference between headlines and reality. A flat company sounds agile, but not every company becomes efficient by becoming flat. Many simply become more stressed. That is why two extreme narratives have formed in this debate. The first narrative says middle managers are unnecessary, they only increase meetings, slow approvals, create power distance, and stand in the way of the real makers. The second narrative says that if middle managers disappear, strategy execution will fall apart, employee morale will break, accountability will get diluted, and top leadership will drown in operational noise. The truth usually lies somewhere between the two. Not every middle manager is valuable, but not every middle manager is replaceable either. Harvard Business Review has repeated for a long time in its work on strategy execution that strategy may be created at the top, but it often begins to unravel due to coordination gaps, silo friction, and changing frontline realities. And it is the middle layer that fills those gaps. In HBR's 2025 podcast discussion 2, the middle manager was seen as the practical engine of strategy execution. That is, the person who reduces the distance between plan and action, manages resistance, and when things are not working, sends course correction feedback upward. Now just imagine a company from which middle managers are suddenly removed in large numbers. For the first few weeks, perhaps everyone will feel, wow, meetings have reduced, approvals are faster, direct access has increased. But then slowly the cracks begin to show. Who will give clear priorities to junior employees? Who will resolve inter-team conflicts? Who will give feedback to weak performers? How much time will senior leaders be able to devote to every small operational issue? If a project gets stuck between engineering, sales, client servicing, compliance, and finance, who will untie that knot every day? This is the invisible work middle managers do, and its value is often understood only when it disappears. In reality, one of the biggest jobs of a middle manager is translation. The language at the top is vision, efficiency, targets, strategic priorities, resource allocation. The language below is workload, timelines, bugs, customer complaints, team burnout, leave balance, tool failure, unrealistic commitments. If there is no translator between these two languages, then two different worlds form inside a company. Those at the top feel everything is fine. Those below feel no one is listening. The middle manager makes this disconnect manageable. He does not just pass information, he creates context. And context is more important today than ever because work itself is changing. According to LinkedIn's 2025 Work Change Report, around 70% of the skills used in most jobs will change by 2030. According to the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs 2025 report, employers expect that by 2030, 39% of key skills will change, and skills gaps are the biggest barrier to transformation. When skills are changing this fast, organizations need not just task monitoring managers, but capability building managers. That is, people who can prepare teams for new tools, new workflows, AI-assisted working, and cross-functional collaboration. That is why many experts are saying that middle management is not disappearing, it is mutating. The old manager may have collected status reports, tracked attendance, and forwarded emails upward. The value of that kind of manager really is declining. But the new manager will be the one who can read data, use AI tools, enable decisions in ambiguity, align stakeholders, and not just monitor a team's work, but unblock it. McKinsey, in its discussions on the future of middle managers, made exactly this point, that the role needs to be both simplified and strengthened. In other words, the survival of the layer is not necessary, but the evolution of its value is. So are companies wrong when they trim middle management? That cannot be answered in one line. If a company truly has management bloat, unnecessary approvals, duplicate reporting lines, and managers who are only managing other managers, then flattening can be helpful. But if a company removes its experienced middle layer simply to save costs, without thinking about who will handle execution friction, then short-term savings can turn into long-term chaos. Many times after layoffs, companies end up getting the same work done by informal leaders, overworked senior individual contributors, or burnt-out senior executives. Then the hierarchy may look smaller, but the stress becomes greater. The human side of this story is equally important. Middle managers are often squeezed from both sides. Pressure from above, expectations from below, and limited authority in the middle. Many times they carry more accountability but have less actual control. Their job is not glamorous, but emotionally expensive. They hear layoff news first, they absorb the anxiety of the team too, and many times they find their own name in that same list. That is why a middle manager is not just a process note for the company, but also a psychological buffer. The impact of his removal is not only on workflows, but also on trust. And that is why the real question today is not, are middle managers needed? The real question is, what kind of middle managers are needed? The manager who only sends meeting invites may indeed get replaced. But the manager who turns strategy into action, coaches the team, contains conflict, carries customer pain up to leadership, and preserves human judgment amid AI tools, his need has not ended. In many places, it has increased. So the next time you read in a layoff headline that a company has reduced layers, flattened its structure, or trimmed middle management, do not see it only as a victory of efficiency. It may be smart restructuring, but it may also be that the company has cut away a part of its own nervous system. Because organizations do not run only on org charts. They run on coordination, trust, feedback, and everyday judgment. And the greatest responsibility for all four often lies on the very layer that gets marked extra first in a spreadsheet. In the end, the point is very simple. A middle manager is not a hero in every company, but he is not useless for every company either. His real test lies not in the title, but in the value. In the coming time, only those middle managers will survive who move beyond reporting and continue to create value in problem solving, coaching, cross-functional execution, AI fluency, and decision support. And only those companies will remain durable that understand the difference between cost cutting and capability cutting. Because work does not run only through people, it also runs through the structure that moves people in one direction. And in many organizations, that structure still rests on the shoulders of middle management. If said in one line, the role of the middle manager is not ending, its mask is coming off. Now it will not be the designation that survives, but real usefulness. And that is the biggest truth of the coming corporate era. Companies will count not headcount, but hard value. But the company that fails to recognize invisible value may perhaps save a few salaries and end up paying a very expensive price in execution, culture, and trust. If this video has taught you something new, or if you feel this information should reach more people, don't forget to like and share the video. Your small share can become valuable and useful information for someone else. If you have any questions related to this topic, or if you would like to share your opinion with us, be sure to write in the comment box. We read every question and suggestion from you, because your feedback inspires us to create better content. And if you want to keep receiving such interesting and reliable information about business, the economy, and the world in the future, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel GRT Business and also press the bell icon so that you get notifications of every new video directly. At GRT Business, we always strive to provide you with accurate, balanced, and reliable information. Our news and analysis are prepared based on information obtained from various news agencies, public sources, and public opinion. We make every effort to verify and validate each fact as much as possible. But in case of any possible error or dispute, the responsibility lies with the respective sources. Our only aim is to present you with a correct and trustworthy perspective so that you can understand any topic better.